Hey everyone, it's Rachel. We had some scheduling difficulties to do the song tier rankings for the Has Been Hotel little run that we're doing. So we are going into the first of actually a couple Total Drama Revenge of the Island episodes. It took a lot longer than we expected. So this episode is kind of short, and I just wanted to warn everybody that there is an abrupt ending because I cut it off before starting the episodes. And then we'll see how splitting the episodes go. But hopefully, the next episode will be us doing the tier song rankings from Has Been Hotel with Maddie. Hopefully, that'll be our next episode. But again, we'll keep everybody posted. Also, you're going to hear a new intro music. If you've been listening on YouTube, you've probably noticed in the last couple of weeks that the song will start and then it will stop. Evidently, the song is copyrighted, but I got it off of a paid system that says it's not copyrighted. So whatever, I just changed the song. So just wanted to let y'all know about those couple changes. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a little bit short, but we still hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Toon Tahn podcast. I'm your host, Rachael Kriger. And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached it. We are done with the first generation cast, Total Drama, and we are jumping in to the second generation. And I know that you all have been waiting for this episode, but nobody has been waiting for this episode quite like the patient, the what are some words that are rhyming with patient or thesaurus with patient that I could use to describe you? Oh, well, she's a big Mike lover. We've got Kelley, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back.
It's me. It's my time.
She's been patient and has been lurking under the shadows of Total Drama Island action and My
Just
Beloved World Tour.
biding my time.
Ready to pounce.
Mhm.
Ready to bring all the chaos. Give me chaos or give me death in the form of Total Drama Revenge of the Island.
Woo!
This is it, folks. This is the second generation cast. We have made it. We have done it, and we are here, and we are going to talk about this actually pretty good season. We will get into how we feel about the overall grade of Total Drama Revenge of the Island a little bit later. But first, Kelley, I'm gonna give you a test. There's one question on this test, and
Okay, so it's either a pass or fail kind of thing.
it's a pass or fail. If I never watched Total Drama Revenge of the Island, give me a sentence explaining why I should watch it. As someone who loves, I just dropped something.
Fair enough.
As someone who loves this season, convince me why we should abandon our beloved first generation cast for this group of newbies.
Yes. One sentence? Can it be a run-on sentence?
Yes, as many commas as you want.
Comma. I am in love with the comma. My biggest talking point would be there's less cast for you to get attached to, I guess is the term I want to use. So it's not hard to remember all the new people. Second talking point is all of them have very different personalities from the first generation cast. Um, and thirdly, um, I love them. And that is my talking point.
Are they all your precious babies?
All except for one. And you know who it
Oh,
is.
oh, yep, I do.
Yeah.
That's a good place to start though, because this season did bring a new cast, and a lot of people were a little bit wary on how it was going to go. We had 3 seasons of the same cast, um, and of course in World Tour you got 2 new people who were pretty much, for the most part, I think, extremely well liked and beloved. We're leaving out Blaney,
Hmm.
and that kind of fit in seamlessly. But with this, it was out with the old, we're bringing in the new, and I want you to tell me about these characters. The floor is yours. This is your show, and then I'll talk after you.
Oh, it's my time. I think it would be best if we went in elimination order because that
Oh,
just seems the most cohesive.
yeah, so spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about all the episodes. So, I mean, this is here's your warning now, folks. If you want to skip this part and then go to where we talk about the episodes, do so now. Do 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 do. All right, that's enough time. Go ahead.
You had your time. Okay, so first in the elimination order was Stacy, and that's Stacy with an I for some reason. So she was eliminated first because she's more or less cannon fodder. She, I compare her to like the Kate and Sadie of the first generation cast because literally I don't know one person that likes Stacy. She's basically the compulsive liar. She just tells up these made up stories about all her ancestors or people she's related to, inventing all these wacky things that no one believes her, and she just will not shut up. And when her team loses, she's the first to go. So there is nothing really to say on Stacy. She's just so unimportant to the rest of the season.
You can keep going.
Do you want me to? I didn't know if you had
Yeah,
any
just
thoughts
keep
on
going.
Stacy.
I'll go after you do, everybody.
Oh, okay. I'm going rapid fire. I get you. Okay, let's move on. Dakota. Dakota was the second eliminated. She is like the popular girl in school kind of type, but in a way that you would like her. I know a lot, like, I don't know if you've seen Mean Girls. Um, I know you have, Rachel, but like people out there, she was kind of like the Regina George type, but she's likable, if that makes sense. She starts off as like, oh, she comes from like a rich family. She just wants to be famous, basically, like the theme song says.
Well, and
But when she gets kicked off set,
she's inspired by Paris Hilton too.
yeah, you're right. I just saw blonde hair. I was like, oh yeah, Regina George. um, but she gets voted off second, which she's not happy about. Um, I cannot remember what episode she comes back. It's a couple episodes later, she flies back in trying to stay on the show. And Chris is like, nah, you can't stay. And then he gets a call from Dakota's dad offering him money. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, now you can stay, but you're staying as an intern. So she's not staying, she's not competing, but she's still technically on the show. Um, I do really like Dakota because she gets more development as the show goes on, even though she's the second person eliminated. Um, we'll get into what happens to her later in the show, but I do really like what they did with her instead of just making her a stereotypical one note popular girl. They gave her some depth. Um, so she was second. Third is B, and it's just the letter B. Um, he is the strong and silent type of person. He doesn't say one word in this entire show. He is third eliminated, so he doesn't get too much screen time. But whenever he does something like super smart or like he figures things out really quickly without even having to communicate with anybody. Um, he wins. I know he wins at least one part of the challenge for the team, but he's very good at making sure their team wins, or at least coming up with plans that they can win, unless it's sabotage. But we'll get into that later. B doesn't have a lot of character development again because he doesn't talk, but he is quickly voted out third because there is a contestant on the show that sabotages their team quite frequently. And this contestant noticed B was catching on to him, so he had him eliminated. So B, I don't have too much to say about him, but just know he's likable for the amount of screen time he does get. Let's see here. So fourth eliminated was Dawn. Now Dawn is kind of like, I don't want to call her a hippie, but she's very like ethereal, I guess is the term I can use. She's very like in touch with nature, like a tree hugger, like communicates with the animals kind of type. I love Dawn specifically just because she's so like reserved and quiet, but she's very smart. Um, I love her design. She's like shorter than everybody else on the show, which is really cute. Dawn is eliminated fourth because again, same contestant that's been sabotaging um, got caught by her and he had her eliminated. So she's very uh likable as a character. Kind of like into like a she gives off tarot card vibes to me, but regardless, I still enjoy her character, even though she isn't around for too long. But let's see what we have here. I keep going down the list. Okay, fifth is Sam. Sam Sam gives off very strong Seth Rogen vibes, is what I can describe him as. But he's like a gamer Seth Rogen is what I would put him was what I would describe him as. Um, Sam is very like lazy, chill, but he ends up having a crush on Dakota. And it's really cute how they interact. Like you have the super popular girl, and then you have like the gamer boy who's kind of just crushing on her and trying to compliment her and keeps fumbling with his words because he doesn't know how to talk to her properly. But he is very endearing. He's not my favorite character, but I do appreciate they threw in some new character archetypes for these new Gen cast. So he's eliminated fifth. Sixth, Brick. Rachel loves Brick. Everybody loves Brick. I do like Brick too. Brick is like
Brick.
this army cadet kind of guy.
I
Yeah.
love Brick.
Brick. I love Brick so much.
I love
Yeah,
him.
Brick
Anyway,
Brick is a fan favorite for sure. Unfortunately he's not I think yeah, he gets eliminated sixth. But he is like an army cadet kind of type, but he's like a mama's boy too, which is really cute. He has like this rivalry sort of thing with another contestant named Joe. And they keep kind of like trying to one up each other, which is really fun to watch. They start off on the same team and then they switch teams, or Brick switches teams, and then they're on opposite teams. And then he gets eliminated, unfortunately, because he was a good person and saved some other contestants from certain doom, and the other contestants didn't like that. Because the people he saved were on the opposite team, so they didn't trust him after that. But everybody loves Brick. We will get more into Brick when he comes up. Uh, Anne Maria. Anne Maria sure is a character. Um, she is like a Jersey Shore reject. She got like the fake tan, the big poofy hair, the Jersey accent. She's I wouldn't call her lovable, but she is very fun to watch when she's talking. She doesn't she's obviously here to win, but she doesn't have too much character depth apart from being kind of like she belongs on Jersey Shore and that's it. She ends up eliminating herself because she thinks she found like this diamond looking thing. But it ends up being like a worthless. I think it was cubic zirconium is what it was, but she thought it was a real diamond. She ends up getting eliminated with a brick, so there's two people gone. But I enjoy her interactions with some of the characters, and we will talk about her later. Oh, oh boy, it's time. It's him. He's here, my boy.
I wonder who this could be.
Hmm. I'll give you three guesses.
uh, the Alejandro.
He ain't even in this season.
The four
Okay.
doors.
Okay, so this guy right here, this boy, his name is Mike. Mike is a character that is near and dear to my heart. um, he has DID, which, if you don't know, is dissociative identity disorder. In the show, they refer to it as multiple personality disorder, but that's an outdated term. So I'm going to use DID. So his deal is that he has a few different personalities. Um, Instead of just being Mike, he has personalities. He has alters named Vito, Manitoba, um, Chester, and Svetlana. There's another one, but we will talk about that later. Well, moving on. So he has a couple different alters that he exists with. And his big thing in this season is that he is super into Zoe, which is another character on this list in this show. And that's kind of like his whole deal, especially in this season, is he wants to get closer to Zoe, but he doesn't want to have to tell her about his condition because he's afraid that she would reject him. Unfortunately, he does get eliminated by the character who's been sabotaging. He's the only one that got that vote, so he chose Mike to be eliminated, and I'm still mad about that. Even though that episode's probably one of the best in the season, if not the best in the season. But Mike, my beloved, we will come back to Mike. Um, Joe is the next on the list. Joe is a very tomboyish, masculine uh, woman character. She's very competitive. She has a rivalry with Rick. She always wants to one up him. She always likes to give him like insulting nicknames, which is kind of funny. Um, but she's very controlling and will she likes to use people up until they're like worthless to her. So Cameron becomes one of those people because like we'll get into Cameron, but he's very much not strong. He's not like super competitive. He's not like I don't know the words to describe him, but Cameron's kind of weak, is what I'll go with. But Joe uses him. Joe's very competent, but she ends up getting voted off by Cameron because he basically outplayed her, which is kind of it was a good play by him. So she's a fun character to watch just because she's very different from every other like woman character the show's ever had, which I appreciate. Who's next on the list? Scott. Who Scott? He's the character that's been sabotaging his team's winnings, especially towards the beginning of the season, because he has a stupid plan, but we'll get into that. His plan was to pick off all of his teammates and then wait until the merge and then pick off everybody else, which is not a great plan, but whatever. He's like this country boy, like very devious, very conniving kind of character. He will he did get pretty far in this season. He did pick off most of his teammates before they merged, which I don't know how he did it specifically, but that's Scott. He gets voted out. I think he gets fourth in this season. Yeah, he did pretty well, but I liked him more in All Stars, but we'll get to that. But he's kind of like the villain of the season, which is different from like Heather and Alejandro. Like he's very much he's in that same ballpark, but he does it in a way that's like not as competent as Heather and Alejandro, if that makes sense. Who's next on the list? Zoe. Zoe got third place this season. I love Zoe so much. She's so cute. So Zoe's kind of like this indie chick, is what I would call her. She's very much like, I don't want to call her a Mary Jane, but she's kind of plain, kind of just there. But she ends up being Mike's love interest towards the end of the show. Um, she's super interested in Mike throughout the show, but since he didn't tell her about his DID, she keeps like going back and forth on like if I can trust Mike or if he's lying to me about something, he's not being 100% honest with me. Eventually he does tell her. Okay, technically Cameron tells her accidentally, but he does fess up and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going through." And she ends up like accepting that uh that she's totally okay with it. She doesn't think of Mike any differently once he tells her. She gets third place, which I'm proud of her for, but I was sad she was gone. So you have the final two, which is Cameron. Cameron is a bubble boy. He's basically like super lanky, super meek, very non-confrontational, that very big nerd. He's super smart, except when it comes to like interacting with other people. He's kind of like socially awkward. He ends up being in the final of this show, which is unexpected. I think both of these finalists were very unexpected. But he's very smart. He, along during the show's runtime, he tries to help Mike out with his DID. Probably more or less hiding it from Zoe. Like he figures out Mike's triggers for who what brings out each personality. Um, and he becomes like best friends with Zoe and Mike together, which is really cute. I love their friendship. But he ends up being a finalist. I do like Cameron a lot. He's fun to watch. And the other finalist, which might be the most surprising, is this jock archetype named Lightning. Lightning is very, I don't want to call him dumb, but he's very competitive, he's very athletic. He's not the brightest bulb, if I can use that term. But he's very strong. He's very self-centered. He's so focused on himself, he doesn't really care about anybody else. How he made it to the final is beyond me, but it ends up being Lightning and Cameron in the finale. Lightning is really funny. He has like some really funny one-liners. Um, and he has some really funny like physical comedy. So those are your characters. That's your cast for Revenge of the Island. I like all of them except Stacy. There's like not one character I don't like to a certain extent, except Stacy. So with all that said, what are your thoughts?
Well, I first I want to go real quick and so in the first season of Total Drama, there was the trailer for Camp TV. We had talked about that. In the for leading up to Revenge on the Island, there was a picture of the cast as they were, drawing them out and getting them designed. And it's crazy how some of them look totally different. And like, for example, Cameron's original design ended up being the design for Mickey and Jay, the Adversity Twins, and Redonkulous Race. There were a couple little subtle changes, like Brick, his shirt color changed. Sam and Scott, like their beards are gone in it. And Scott's shirt color changes. Lightning gets like a football jersey, but then there's some like really like Dakota's design was what Zoe ended up looking like, and Zoe's design was totally scrapped. there was a whole character named Molly, who is presumably who Zoe's character was like based off of. Stacy's hair color changed. And then Joe's name was actually Mary at one point. So I always thought that that was cool. And then we got to see the final render, or I guess Molly, I guess would be Dawn. Um Dawn's look and whatnot didn't even exist in the pre-planning stages. Um and B was kind of like a toned, a softer version of like what there was this character in like Camp TV that they ended up not using. And they used him as like a background extra cameraman. But B's design was kind of based off of that. I like most of these characters. I my favorites are Brick and Anne Maria. I I love Anne Maria. I think she has probably some of the best one-liners in the show. Um, I love the one scene where she's spraying the hairspray, and she and Cameron starts coughing next to her, and she goes, "Oh, sorry, short stuff, but on the bright side, now your lungs are like 80% waterproof or something like that." I think she's one of my favorite lines, and I know you know this because I quote it all the time. It's in the episode when it's the night episode and they have to like go in the graveyard and find all the clues and stuff. Um Anne Maria yells, "No, get the hook, not the schnook." And that is my one of my all-time favorite total drama lines. Um I love Anne Maria. I think she's funny. I really, really love Brick. He's just such a good character. Um, he's a great teammate. He's a great competitor. I love his little rivalry with Joe. Um, I love Brick. His one-liners as well are so funny. The episode where they have to do that obstacle course, um, and he gets knocked out and he hands the maggot to to Joe and goes, "Here's your cat." And then that same episode, they're going back and forth. I think it's the same episode when they're like, "I just did my morning 5K. Oh, well, I did an 8K, and then oh no, I did a 10K." And Joe's like, "Yeah, I did mine backwards with earplugs." Um, or that's what Brick says, and Joe's like, "Well, why earplugs?" And he goes, "I don't know." I love Brick. He's so, so funny. And yeah, the way he got voted off was like super unfortunate, but I always like the scene after he got voted off whenever Cameron, Zoe, and Mike give him the salute. I always thought that that was really sweet. It's also funny, like they always say, the devil's in the details, and like look at the details because they're so good. Brick's last name is MacArthur, and yes, that is a reference to that's yeah, MacArthur from Redonkulous Race, but also like a very famous American general was General MacArthur. So there's just like little pieces like that. Dawn was based off of Luna Lovegood. I'm not the biggest Dawn fan. I think she's overhyped. She has a couple good moments. Like I like when she says to Scott, "I didn't know you were a beetle whisperer." And then, "I'm not gonna listen to the snowball, I'm gonna chuck it." But other than that, I really didn't care for Dawn. Her elimination didn't bother me at all. I thought Joe was pretty good. She it was kind of tough to decide like who was a better villain. Is it Joe? Is it Scott? I thought Scott was a pretty weak villain out of all the villains. His plan was really dumb. And a lot of people that got voted off early should not have been voted off early because of him, like B. I thought Lightning was funny. I thought Dakota had some really, really good moments. I am so over, like, I hated the feral Zeke and I hated the mutant Dakota. Like, I don't think it's funny. It's stupid. I don't get it. Like, whatever. Sam was pretty good this season. I always liked whenever he was in the bottom two in like the third or fourth episode. He was like, "Yeah, at least I'm not going out first." So Stacy again, just, cannon fodder. I love Cameron. I think Cameron's awesome. I really liked him in All Stars as well. Um, and then saving your two favorites for last, I I I always liked Mike, and I always liked the idea of, like, doing his personalities. I know a lot of people are very like, "Oh, it wasn't done correctly, and it wasn't." I mean, whenever you do a show like this and you're doing again, as Kelly mentioned, multiple personality disorder, which is now called a dissociative identity disorder. It's not gonna be perfect. So I'm kind of over these people putting unrealistic expectations. It's kind of a lose-lose for the animators and for the creators, but at the same time, like, I give them respect for going out on a limb and trying something new, and it did come with a good storyline, at least in Revenge of the Island. I will save my remarks on All Stars for the
Watch yourself.
I will save it for the next episode. You and I will probably get into it. Um, but I really liked Mike this season. I thought he was a good character, and as somebody who is Russian, I can appreciate his Russian gymnast Svetlana. Um, and then moving on to Zoe, I'm a mixed bag on Zoe because I really liked her in All Stars. And I could not stand her in Revenge of the Island, and I didn't care for the whole Commando Zoe shtick. Um, I love her friendship with Cameron, and I always thought the relationship with her and Mike was way too rushed. I mean, they literally said 2 words to each other and like, "Oh my god, they're in love." Like, and I understand because you only have 13 episodes, like, I can give them a hall pass for that, but there was no build up for anything. Like, at least throwing it back to Island, like Trent and Gwen, there was a ton of build up. But again, 26 episodes compared to 13, you can't really, so I don't know. Zoe has always been kind of like a mixed bag for me. I don't think she's overrated like Dawn is, but I don't think she's underrated either. She's just like in my tier list, she's a good character. She's not super great for me. But I mean, she's fine. But can we please give her can we give the girl a t-shirt? Like, come on.
No, you gotta have that navel out at all times.
There was a Tumblr user, and I can't remember, the person's at, but they did, like, a redesign of, like, Zoe in, like, a maroon t-shirt, and it's actually very cute, and I really like it. So, if you ever wanna give her a cameo, like, or bring her back for the reboots, I'm not gonna complain if you do that. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on the characters.